Your inner geek wants to come out and play, but where to go? Join Vernon Wells, the ultimate club where you and your fellow geeks can hang out, play games, and just nerd out 24/7. Whether you love RPGs, video games, or are just a major fan of sci-fi and geek culture, Vernon Wells has something for everyone. Let your geek flag fly at Vernon Wells. Sign up today and see for yourself. VNW.club. That's VNW.club.
Ladies, gentlemen, geeks of all ages, you are now entering BJ Shea's Geek Nation. Welcome.
Yes, welcome to BJ Shea's Geek Nation. I'm the Reverend Infuego. Across from me is Vicky Barcelona.
Hello.
We've got the show's namesake, BJ Shea.
Well, I am.
And running the boards is Joey Dees.
Ohio.
On today's show, we will get a listener email that says, BJ, you're wrong. Yes. But then we'll get some board game reviews from BJ. All right. Maybe that more. And of course, the Geek Sheet with Vicky B. Vicky, how can people get a hold of us?
BJGeekNation.com, our website. Because it's going to have our blogs, info, and more.
Oh, yeah, more.
I always feel like I sound like Marvin the Martian. More. But just search BJ Shea's Geek Nation, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, iTunes, and radio.com app.
Yes, and like we stated on the Friday podcast, give us a 5-star review. Give us some nice, kind words on Apple Podcasts.
Thanks ahead of time.
And maybe we'll read your review. And,
maybe that'll happen?
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
Yeah, especially if you say, BJ cheats at board games.
Yeah. I don't know. Of course, last time the only complaint was the von Kallenbach, but trying to think how I want to be with that.
You took that input and you did a sensual version of von Kallenbach.
It's hard to say. You don't know if it's one person. What if other people like it? See, people don't usually tell you what they do like. They tell you what they don't.
That's true.
So you don't know. It's like, well, one person doesn't like coffee. If Starbucks said, well, we'll close all the stores then.
Yep, that's how it works.
Yeah. It's hard to say.
But still, give us your feedback. We love to hear it. And if you've got specific emails or stuff you want to talk about that we've discussed, send us an email, bjgeeknation@gmail.com. We got one from Ricky. The subject header was Another Life. Now, BJ
the TV show. Yes.
BJ did review this. It was the Netflix show starring Katie Sackhoff.
I reviewed it after one episode.
You did. You watched one, and it was the old one and done.
Yeah.
Ricky says, I just listened to this morning's podcast, and I have to say, I don't think BJ gave the show his full attention. You learn in episode 1 that the alien artifact is essentially a radio tower and not a shield, as he put it. It's a signal that humans can't decipher to a planet orbiting a star in a distant galaxy.
That makes more sense.
And then it comes down to the conflict on the ship that Katie Sackhoff is on, because Ian, the hot-headed second in command, has been leading the ship, but then Katie comes in, Nico comes in, and far more experienced captain, so they want to use her as the first contact of alien life. Ian is pissed off about this, who attempts that mutiny at the first chance he gets, when the crew is still split over a decision to take a safer route that adds months to the journey, or a far more dangerous one that could destroy the ship that would save some time.
Yeah. So I remember the episode, and what they said basically to her was when the admiral said, "Hey, we got you. You got to pilot this thing," and she was like, "Well, why can't Slappy do it? Slappy is not. He's just not qualified. He's too hot-headed."
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's a shocker. The guy you didn't think could lead the mission, all of a sudden mutinies on the mission because the reason he shouldn't be leading the mission because he's a hothead. That's
the reason why he did it.
That irritated me. That's what I'm saying. I understand why he did it because he's a hothead. My thing is his command wouldn't have put him on the... Because think about it. If you're in charge of this group, Rev, and I say, and management goes, Rev, you can't be leading this podcast anymore because you're too much of a hothead.
What?
So we'll bring in somebody else to lead the group, but you'll still stay on?
I'm going to mutiny!
I mean, well, of course I would take you out completely and just tell the crew, sorry, Captain Rev's gone. Here's a new captain. You don't leave the old captain there, but bust him down.
Yeah, just to lead him. Because that's going to lead an angry, sulking guy who might mutiny.
I felt it was lazy writing to get a mutiny to happen. And so that the ship would be wrecked and damaged. And I just felt that was really lazy writing because you just wouldn't have let that scenario happen in the first place in an important mission like that.
It didn't bother Ricky.
Yeah.
He ended up watching the whole season and he felt it was really good. He does love us, even if we disagree on this, and he does love the podcast.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Ricky. And I did get another tweet after we posted the podcast from Thomas, who did say that he enjoyed it as well.
Wow.
So
two people.
Yeah. So there's two people out there that do like it, and so we don't need to shut down all of the Starbucks for this one.
All right, well, I don't know if I will give it more, only because there's so much television on right now and so many things I have to put my eyes in front of.
Absolutely.
And I have to love something in order to keep going. And I'm happy that they like it. And we'll see what happens. I know that some of the people I've talked to, not as big of a fan as Ricky and the other dude, but I'm glad. Look, it's great. They put a show on. People like. Good for everybody involved. I'm not going to put somebody down for liking a show.
And that's one of the things. I mean, Joe has said before. It's if you don't like something, if it doesn't grab you, you can stop watching it.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like you said, there's so many geeky things out here right now.
Too many board games to play.
You've got too much time playing board games to stop and sit and watch a show that you may not be okay with.
And I am inundated with shows.
Yeah.
That's the thing, with not as much time as I would like. So I would like to give Another Life a chance, but I mean, I've still got Killjoys to get through. I've got The Handmaid's Tale, which just wrapped up. I don't know. And
did it wrap up?
Yeah, I think either this past week or the week coming up, and I'm so many episodes behind. I don't know.
That's a pretty good show too. I really like that.
It's a great show, and of course, very soon Watchmen's going to be starting in October.
I'm so excited for that.
And all the fall shows are going to come back. So,
yeah.
I just know I'm not going to have the time. Yeah. So so it's like if they didn't get me in the first episode, I'm kind of like,
Let's talk a little bit about the television stuff, because you did bring that up.
Yes.
And there's a lot of fall stuff coming up. You did mention Watchmen.
Yes.
And I'm very excited for that one. There was a couple other ones that I thought were really cool looking. First off, there's this one. I love anything that's like steampunk or Victorian era.
Yeah, you do.
There's one coming up called Carnival Row on Amazon Prime that comes out at the end of August.
Ooh.
Set in a Victorian era world where magical creatures live among the humans, but they're displaced as marginalized immigrants. So it's along the same lines as like Bright was with Will Smith, like where the orcs were really, really looked down on. Orlando Bloom is in it.
Wow.
And Cara Delevingne.
Cara Delevingne.
Thank you. They both, Orlando plays a human and she plays a fairy caught up in a forbidden affair. Ooh. So yeah, this one looks really cool.
And if you don't know who Cara Delevingne is, she was in Suicide Squad.
Oh, thank you. And the series follows their relationship as well as Bloom's character's investigation into a dark force killing members of their society.
All right, sounds cool.
Yeah, Stumptown, which we talked with Matt Southworth years ago. It was a graphic novel that is.
And I read both. I read them, and they are good.
They are really, really good. You mentioned Watchmen. Watchmen's going to be back in October.
Kobe Smulders, by the way, is in Stumptown. She's the lead character.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. Watchmen is coming out in October. I'm very excited for this one, because it takes place nowadays, but you know what? They kind of call it like a dystopian type sort of future thing where all this stuff goes down, but guess what they don't have?
This is after the movie. This takes place after the movie that we saw.
And the movie has happened.
All right.
And the beautiful part about this is that the cell phones aren't as awesome as what we have now, and they might not even have them, but there's also no social media. Like, there's no social media, there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter. You know what? That's actually kind of cool.
Side note, I noticed that in the Umbrella Academy, because technically I'm born the same year as all those characters. They're just born in October, so they're younger than me, but you never once see them use a cell phone, pull one out, use the internet. They use pay phones or actual phones. So that is also a different dystopian future with no cell phones.
I love that. I really love that. Like, I don't need cell phones. I don't want social media. Let's just not worry about those.
Well,
anymore.
and I love shows that do that. That was the thing about the show Legion. You didn't really know what the hell time it was.
Yeah, and Gotham was that same thing.
Yeah.
Like, they had cell phones, but they were always flip phones, and they still had like landlines and stuff.
Yeah.
And same with Sabrina.
Really?
Yeah,
You're right. Chilling Adventures?
Yeah, because it kind of feels more old school, but then sometimes they'll bust out the phone, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's nowadays. But
yeah, it
they live
definitely
in
has
these
that
awesome
1950s vibe to it in some places, 50s, 60s stuff in Sabrina. That's another good show.
And then a show, because I was talking about steampunk stuff that I'm really down for, HBO, and it's to be announced, His Dark Materials.
Oh, yes.
It's based off of a fantasy series by Philip Pullman, and it is set to premiere sometime this fall. We don't know. And actually, this was based off of the Golden Compass. So if you remember the 2007 Golden Compass.
That.
Yes. Now this is going to be the series that I guess the movie didn't really take off. They wanted to do it into a bunch of things.
I wanted the Golden Compass to be good. Yeah. I really did.
This will further delve into the story about a young girl's search for her kidnapped friend across parallel universes.
Oh, okay.
But here's my favorite part. War bears. There are so many polar bears that look like they kick butt. Yeah, right? I just want to see someone riding a polar bear. Can we just do that? Like, that's what I want.
I'm like that with war elephants, so I feel you, Rev.
Yeah, right?
Anytime I see a war elephant, I'm like, hell yeah.
So those are some of the shows coming up. Very excited for all of those.
And don't forget Picard's next year, too.
Oh, yeah.
Picard's coming.
Star Trek, Firefly.
Yes. That's okay. I'll do it. I mean, we all want Firefly to come back in some way, shape, or form. We'll take it.
Yeah, right. Board games.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of those, BJ.
Board games.
I know that you're eagerly awaiting until we're done recording the podcast to go play some board games with some of your friends.
Yes, we
as
are.
you always do.
That could be a thing. Well, and of course, this is Dragonflight Weekend, which is, I should say we just got done with Dragonflight Weekend. So, yes, we had a big weekend in Bellevue, a huge con, one of the oldest ones here. And all we get to do is just throw dice around and cardboard, and it's a lot of fun. And so, did I get my fill this weekend? No. We're going to play board games after this podcast.
So let's get some board game reviews from you, man.
This is an older game, and anybody that's been lucky enough to be in at the inception, and the guy that gave you the video game Quake and the video game Doom and a lot of other great video games, Sandy Peterson has done board games, and this was the first one that he did as a lark, thinking that, well, you know what, this will be my last hurrah, and then he'll go back and work for somebody. You know, he wanted to make his own thing for his own product, and he thought, I'll do this one time on Kickstarter, and then I'll go back and work for somebody else's company making games like he did with Doom and Quake and all that.
How'd that work for him?
It worked out very well because he was so surprised at the 7 figures that rolled in because of Cthulhu Wars.
Wow.
And that was a few years ago when he debuted that, and my goodness, he's had 3 releases since, and Onslaught 2, Onslaught 3.
You rave about this game.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I rave about the components. Cthulhu Wars is Risk on steroids, is what the game is. And you can buy the base copy. It plays 4, and you can buy it depending on, I got mine for $150, $160, but I've seen it for $200. Reason being is that the basically the components, the minis, which are maxis, just, it seems, I don't know, it seems like at least between 50 and 100 pieces in the game as far as chits and minis and plastics and whatever, and it's really a well-done game. It's a fun game with asymmetrical factions. If you get all of the factions, it's like 8 or 9, depending upon whether or not you basically trick out one that somebody did on the internet. And so you've got many different variations. It also can play up to 8. He sells a ton of different game boards, some which are no longer available and unbummed, so that you can have so many different experiences. Plus, he sells so many neutral monsters and neutral old ones, and so that every game can be so different. And you've got like a tech tree, aka spell books that you have to put in there. All of the people's factions are asymmetrical, so whatever I put on the board is going to be very different than what you put on the board. But we're still trying to do area control, which is what Risk has always been about. And it's a simple game to learn and play. The complexity comes from, okay, all of my guys do this. What do all of your guys do? Trying to keep track of everybody's stuff. And, hopefully, some players are very close to the vest. And if you don't pay attention, next thing you know, it's like, oh, I didn't know your guy did that. Now I'm all dead. But it's a really fun game, basically because of the components. And people know about Sandy Peterson Kickstarter. You can pay a lot of money for his games. And I got Cthulhu Wars because I really want Hyperspace, but that won't be out until, I don't know, I think October-ish of next year.
Oh, wow.
Or August. You got to wait a long time because, the components are insane and he's got to make them. So I bought Cthulhu Wars. I can't play the space game, so let me play the Lovecraftian game. So we've been doing that. And Cthulhu Wars is available somewhere, petersongames.com, or you search up, you'll find out. And there's so many components. And I love Sandy. He tricks them all out. It's like, oh, you don't like the dice that come with the game? How about these special dice? And you don't like the cardboard that comes with the game? How about these special plastic pieces? So he gives you the ability to make your game basically the Cadillac of games, or you can buy the base game and be happy with that.
That's really cool because I know that there is a bit of a pride with the board games where you can get the elite model essentially, or if you just like the game and you just want to be able to play it, and maybe you can't afford the massive amount of money that sometimes board games cost.
And I could get some of these things that I want, but they're like quadruple the original price, and I just feel like,
well, yeah, that and the fact that if you do that, there might be a board game you miss. You can only spend so much money in certain places.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, that's why I was like, FOMO definitely. When now anything that Sandy puts out there, I'm like, I want it the full way because I know I won't be able to get it someday, and then I'll be sad that I don't have everything.
Do you have another board game that you'd like to review?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. As a matter of fact, I do. This one was introduced to us by our buddy Sean from the Board Game Alliance from Think 12
Shout out
Games.
to Sean.
My nemesis. And you guys may have already talked about this before, Joe, but we played it because Sean got a Kickstarter game in called Dead Men's Cabal. And this is from Pandasaurus Games. And it plays 4 players max, 2 to 4, plays about 90 minutes. This is a really cool game where you are trying to raise the dead.
Nice.
And
let's do this.
Yeah, and so there's so many different hoops you jump through to raise the dead. The components are really cool. The money of the game are basically bones, and they have these nice little plastic bones in the game that, if you collect these bones, you can do many different actions.
Hey, throw me a bone here.
Also, they've got skulls, and they have black skin, so these little skull tokens, and they're made of plastic, and they're 3-dimensional, and there's red, white, gold, black skull tokens, and depending upon the kind of skull tokens you take, they will allow you to do different actions in the game, which will allow you then to eventually basically jump through a bunch of hoops so that you can raise the dead. And the scoring mechanism is really cool because you have these cards in your hand, which will tell you, okay, here's what you need, how many skulls you need to raise the dead. And you also could then get these little components you put on there that will allow you to place your markers in other places. So there's a lot of things you have to do in order to basically get points in this game, including like whoever leads a certain track in the game, you will then get bonus points, and that lead you go back and forth, but it really depends on what you can do when you raise the dead in the first place. So there's a lot of ways to try to really score cards, but you have to have the right components, and to get the right components, you got to hope your opponent will do something on their turn, because there's a public action, and then a private action, then a public action, and your opponents can screw you. Like I was ready to win the game. Go. And nobody would give me any white skulls. They had a feeling that I needed white skulls as a resource. They took them all. And basically,
were they correct?
They were right. I had dead cards in my hand. And I couldn't score ever again. And if I couldn't raise any dead, I wasn't able to then take my cubes and put them on these different scoring tracks that will give you bonuses at the end of the game, because you have to at least be able to score. Really well done. The components are good. And it's easy to learn. Once you get going, you're probably playing a quarter of the game and then you finally get the hang of it. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely a game that if you play the second time, you're gonna be like, okay, I know what to do now. I definitely want to do it. But the components are really cool. It's a well done game, and I got to give Daniel Newman credit, and also the artist Henning Ludvigsen and Denise Madri. I hope I'm saying your names right, guys. Pandasaurus Games. It's called Dead Man's Cabal.
I got a question. Is a Pandasaurus more panda or more dinosaur?
Well, it starts with panda, so I would imagine that maybe it has the panda ears and maybe some of the fuzz, but then maybe the little T-Rex arms.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out. Does it have a tail? Does it get a tail? Does it eat bamboo or meat?
I love Joe's just total question on that one. So what is a Pandasaurus?
These are important questions.
I love it. Thank you so much, BJ. And now it is time for
The Geek Sheet with Vicky B.
Vicky, what do you have for us?
All right, so I found this article, and it's something I've actually been thinking about for a while. It is MCU characters that are gone for good that we'll probably never see again.
Okay.
What? Come on.
And they rate this list when they have like 1 through, I think there's 30 of them, and they'll go through and say, never want to see again or hope to see again.
Oh, okay.
So, you can tell me a name and I'll look for it because there's a lot.
Well, I think that they would still have Gamora, because even though our timeline Gamora died,
I feel like
she's
you're thinking
still around.
I think you're thinking too hard in this.
Oh, really?
So
start us off then.
The first one on the list is never want to see again any of the Royal Inhumans.
Oh, yeah. Like that movie, that show was just, that was horse poop.
That's unfortunate.
Like not good. Like maybe they could bring back Lockjaw just because a big giant dog that can teleport might be fun. But beyond that, I don't really care about any of them.
Well, I know that in The Boys, Butcher has a dog, and I heard that they might be bringing him back.
Really?
There were pictures of we saw pictures of him and his dog in his previous life. Before his wife went missing.
Number 2 on this list, it's a forgotten one, but I don't know if it's really forgotten or not.
I forgot.
Howard the Duck.
Get rid of him. Don't want him back.
There is images from Endgame where you see him fighting, and I don't know if those are photoshopped or not.
I think they're photoshopped. I don't think that they
Just like-
they
it's like
want
a
him in
quick
there.
minute.
Nope,
Well, they had him at the end of this. What movie was it that he was in the end?
Was it Guardians?
Yeah, I think it was.
It was one
Guardians.
of yeah. It was
It
one
was
of
into
them.
Guardians, the first
Yeah.
one.
So they gave him a nod. I was never a Howard fan. But,
No,
Yeah.
dumb stupid duck.
Other random ones, David Lieberman, he was that was number 6. He was like that buddy of the Punisher from the Punisher series.
Oh, I'm happy he's gone. The one, the hacker guy,
Yeah.
right? I didn't like him I don't know much from the books, but I was not a fan of that character in the first season of Punisher.
Yeah.
I was happy that he wasn't in second season.
And by the way, I'm doing these out of order and just completely random based on what I like.
Yeah.
Number 8, Forgotten Cosmo. Because we
Cosmo
did
the
see
space
him.
dog.
Cosmo
Yeah,
the space dog.
like,
He was an Easter egg.
We don't need Cosmo. We don't need Howard the Duck. There are so many cooler cosmic characters out there that it's just they're best as Easter eggs.
I've got one. I wonder if it's on the list.
right.
Should I say it?
Yes.
Herbie? Is he on the list?
The Love Bug?
No, Herbie was the Fantastic Four robot when for some reason they couldn't license.
MCU.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, it's MCU. Okay.
maybe someday they'll be able to not have it in there.
For some reason, this was the lamest thing. When they did the Fantastic Four cartoon, I was so happy to see it, and the Human Torch wasn't in it. I guess they had licensing issues. So instead of Torch, they had a stupid little robot named Herbie, and it was everybody but the Torch. And I was like, oh, I hate this.
Where's Johnny Storm?
Yeah.
Oh, doing something
Yeah,
else.
Doing licensing issues. So, all right, so he's not in. All right.
Nope. Another one is Dr. Christine Palmer. She was played by Rachel McAdams in Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Oh.
That was, I think, the only thing I really didn't care for in the Doctor Strange movie was
The
that
forced love
The forced,
sort of
yeah.
thing.
Is she a somebody like in the MCU?
I'm
like
sure
in the,
probably.
I think she was. I think she was actually a person in the comic books that dealt with Doctor Strange a lot,
Yeah.
maybe a colleague sort of thing. But she was just relegated to a boring like
Love interest,
plot
yeah.
device that was not even interesting in the slightest.
Just to show that maybe he could be how heartless he was.
I think they do that, and because of the stereotypical. Well, guys want to go see this movie because it's a superhero movie, but they want to
Why
bring their
do women
girlfriends.
want to?
Yeah,
And
so
you're
they
like,
always throw in
women
that.
can like superheroes too,
Right.
Yeah.
Another one that's been forgotten, Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because that's all in the MCU.
He was cool. I liked Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I like
That one
guy.
was cool.
Loved his car.
I just hope that they don't necessarily need to bring back Nick Cage.
No, it's
in
the guy
movie
that,
ones. So
Yeah,
like,
the
keep it-
actor.
yeah.
Did you see the Shield Ghost Rider?
Yeah,
he was good.
Yeah, and he was and that was the thing. It's like we don't need Johnny Blaze. We can just keep this guy,
Freddie
Right.
Blaze.
Yeah,
Another one on this list, not really a person, but a group organization we never want to see again, The Hand. I feel like that was just way too much.
Oh, from
Defenders
Daredevil?
and
Yeah,
Daredevil and
yeah.
Iron Fist. It's like, okay, we get it. Can they be done already?
yeah.
I mean, they are a mysterious sort of apparently we don't die kind of bunch of guys, which is that they are interesting, but they were it just seemed like they were so mysterious and we weren't sure who was involved with who. And it turns
Right.
out everybody except Kingpin was involved with them.
Right. One that's been forgotten, Mockingbird from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because she's been in and out. Adrian Pilecki.
She's in space.
Yeah.
Okay. Come
She's on the Orville.
Yeah.
She's a little busy.
Which I'm totally okay with. Another
I
one.
heard there was going to be a series. That's what I thought was going to happen, but
A
of course,
Mockingbird series, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
Everything
think
kinda-
that's just been kind of put off to the wayside at this point.
That's unfortunate.
Fun fact: she did a pilot episode for a Wonder Woman TV show once.
Yep, they did
Oh,
the
really?
pilot
And she
episode
was
for
wearing pants.
Yep, for NBC, and
Oh, I remember that.
did
people
not-
were kind of duking on the old pants sort of thing.
Oh, that
and
was
then-
her?
Yeah.
Well, she definitely can kick ass. She
Yeah.
definitely is. She's in physical shape to be able to do a lot of those stunts. It seems.
Another one, never want to see again because it'd be weird. Sharon Carter, because they what was it in Civil War?
yeah.
Her and Captain America share a
Whoops.
kiss, but she is the niece of his first love, and then he goes back according to Endgame and
That's
gets to live
Luke and
with her.
Leia level right there.
What if it was his actual niece?
Oh,
Well, just like Luke and Leia, and they were
Right.
like, "Oh, here's a kiss for luck,
and now you've made it weird.
and I'm your sister." Whoops.
Yeah,
That's what you call in the southern part of Tatooine.
Another one, you guys will probably not remember this,
Yeah.
but Aaron Davis. Played by Donald Glover, and it was in Spider-Man Homecoming. He is the uncle to Miles Morales. So we haven't heard anything else from Donald Glover or seen him in.
I remember him in that movie.
He was in a
was in a parking lot.
Yeah, it was a very small part. He was like a drug dealer or something.
So the reason
I have to go back and look at that.
I think the reason they used Donald Glover is because he did the voice of Miles Morales in like an animated version.
Okay.
So they had him be the uncle because obviously he's too old to play Miles Morales.
He was definitely identified as that character. Oh, that means he's got to be introduced at some point.
Well,
at some point, Miles Morales, yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Miles is somewhere in this, and I really hope that they will do something with that.
That animated movie was amazing.
Right, I was going to say with the animated movie, it was that the uncle.
I want to see Fat Peter Parker.
Just other random ones. Betty Ross, excuse me.
Was that Liv Tyler in
Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton?
Oh,
It's like,
God.
okay, do you not remember Ruffalo that you had a girlfriend?
Well, they brought back her father, like General Ross.
yeah, they
so he
did.
was still in it, so it still counts.
Yeah, I forgot about Betty.
I mean,
most people.
I'd be okay with not seeing her
We
again.
don't need it.
Well, Liv is back. She's back with the Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, Arwen.
Yeah, she's back with the elves.
One that's interesting that they have not mentioned or brought forward is Dr. Eric Slevig, which is was in the first Thor movie. He was in Avengers. He was.
He was the guy who lost his mind, right?
Yes.
He's the older guy.
Yeah.
He was just in. They brought him back recently. Wasn't he in Endgame?
No, not
He was in
Endgame.
Dark World.
His last appearance was in Age of Ultron.
Really? That's the last time we saw him? Could have sworn I saw him more recently, but I'm losing my mate. I wonder if he was in S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think
Maybe.
they actually do mention him. He's not in the movie, but they mention him being off somewhere.
Maybe that's what it is. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
But yeah, he hasn't been seen. Same with Abomination from.
Tim
Incredible
Roth. We
Hulk.
don't need him. Like, you just
that was from
don't.
the first Hulk movie, right? The Ang Lee?
No, that was the second one. That was the Ed Norton one.
Oh, the Ed Norton had Abomination.
Yeah, no, the biggest the biggest antagonists in the Ang Lee one were the Hulk poodles.
What about the leader?
Hulk
Wasn't that
poodles?
guy who's supposed to be the leader, but he would never turn into the leader?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
I mean,
like all I remember from that is the dogs that they hulked out, and one of them was
Yeah.
a poodle, and it was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Well,
and this is also talking about Howard the Duck.
Yes.
One more just to kind of send us off, and this one kind of bugs me.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Lady Sif.
Yeah, where the hell did she go?
Right.
Right. We lost her.
we-
They just replaced her with Valkyrie,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can have both of them, by the way.
Oh, no, you can't. There can only be room for one lady
I think
person.
realistically, it's because the actress Jamie Alexander had scheduling conflicts with her TV show Blind Spot, and so she couldn't be in Ragnarok. Which honestly,
all right.
I'm okay with because I love Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Valkyrie is
she's
so much
amazing.
more
Like,
fun.
Tessa Thompson is really awesome.
Oh, come on. You act like she's good.
Well,
Yeah.
she is.
She's only in
darn it.
everything.
Yeah,
That's
right.
All right, guess so. Fine.
Well, until next time, guys, stay nerdy.
Your inner geek wants to come out and play, but where to go? Join Vernon Wells, the ultimate club where you and your fellow geeks can hang out, play games, and just nerd out 24/7. Whether you love RPGs, video games, or are just a major fan of sci-fi and geek culture, Vernon Wells has something for everyone. Let your geek flag fly at Vernon Wells. Sign up today and see for yourself. vnw.club